Hello class, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about socialization, which is chapter 3 in your book. And we're going to start with what is socialization. So the definition of socialization specifically. And what we're doing here is we're asking what makes us human? What makes society human? Socialization is essentially the process by which people learn society's expectations. This being said is actually a very complicated process with a lot of different facets, and you see very much a continued introspective look into this from sociology. And you know, in kind of layman's terms, what we're asking here is it nature or nurture? And a lot of things that you assume to be biological or nature, to be your human instinct, actually have to do with the socialization process. We learn what our society's expectations are, and we internalize them, and we feel like that's natural to us. And that is part of who we are, and it feels normal, it feels innate, it feels like it's some type of internal instinct. But the reality of it is that it's not an internal instinct. It's very much a part of a response to what it means to be socialized into our particular culture, our particular society and time. And as sociologists, we can't do research or experiments on people by taking them out of society and not giving them any societal contact in order to look at this question, because this would be an issue of ethics. However, this does happen in real life. People do end up doing this to their children. And from that, we've learned quite a bit. And 3 examples of this are what we would call feral children, isolated children, and institutionalized children. So I'm going to kind of explain what an institutionalized child is first, and then we'll talk about feral children and isolated children. And institutionalized children are children who go into orphanages that would be not one-on-one care, no, very minimal hands-on care. So, you know, you could have 20 babies to one caregiver. This is an institutionalized process, and the result is significantly lowered IQ, significantly lowered ability to be functional within the society that they live in. And we know, based on one type of sort of experiment, where they paired mentally ill patients, not necessarily people with you want to think more like people with Down syndrome or other issues who were adults who were institutionalized. They paired them with babies and had them care for these babies who would have not had the ability to have one-on-one care. And those particular children, because they bonded with that one person, had significantly higher IQs and became significantly more successful in their society when they became adults, compared to the control group, which did not have that same care, had 1 or 2 caregivers who were simply feeding them, propping up their bottles, changing their diapers, and other than that, they were being left in cribs. And you can find examples of this on YouTube, which is kind of what we're going to do. We're going to talk about feral children and isolated children, and I'm going to show you, or I'm going to lead you to a YouTube video that I would like you to watch. A feral child, this one, is a child who is raised by animals in some way, shape, or form. So they could be raised by monkeys, by dogs, or wolves. They could be raised by any other animal other than humans. That would be a feral child as we define it. An isolated child is slightly different. Isolated child is someone who's had no human contact and no animal contact, and they basically live in isolation. They're not spoken to. The results of isolation, severe isolation, based on Jeannie's story, which is the one we're going to look at, is that language isn't developed, a sense of self isn't developed. Everything that we think even is innate to us, our gendered assumptions about society, are never developed. Even the ability to language in terms of having real communication with other people is significantly underdeveloped. Be careful when you watch these videos. They're going to call Jeannie a feral child, but she's technically not. She's an isolated child. Jeannie was strapped to a potty chair for the first 13 years of her life, making her an isolated child. So this is a good one to watch in terms of Jeannie Wiley, and it gives you a nice kind of overall perspective of who she is and her experiences as an isolated child. And even though they don't talk directly about socialization is the end result of having been raised with people and or animals, is a different way in which we are socialized into our society. And so you could see the severe detrimental effects that an isolated child would have. In terms of watching a feral child, I recommend Feral Children Part 5. This is Oksana. She was raised by dogs until she was about 3 years old. And she is a feral child. She was raised by other animals. And you could see really truly the difference between Oksana and Jeannie and her ability to move forward and develop language. She fared significantly better. Take note, though, that she says she feels natural. It feels natural and normal to be on all fours, to pant like a dog or bark like a dog. And even her gestures, you'll notice, are similar. And so what we often think is like part of our instincts have a lot to do with our socialization from very, very young. So if you also have time, I would recommend, we have one that's both. They both talk about Jeannie and Oksana, and this one, Feral Child, the Power of Environment on Us. And then, of course, you can see here the one that says From Barking to Speaking, how well Oksana actually fared after she was able to move, be further socialized by people. So I'm going to leave you with that. Watch those few videos, and we'll come back and complete the rest of the lecture on socialization.